Welcome to Look at Your Pothead Joe Pop Putty Man here. Today I'm dealing with this sport over here. His name's Campo, not the musician, but Campo, the guy that reviews
the original owner of the name, not the phony that stole my name.
Yeah, he kind of did steal your name. When I saw that, I was like, oh wow, Campo, the other Campo, not going to happen.
Sidetracked.
But anyway, and this is podcast, or this is what I tried to call it. We don't know what the name is. I just call it on my end. The podcast. Don't show your wiener.
No, that wasn't for that. I was trying to fix my pants.
Whatever, I don't believe you. All right. So today, guys, even though things have started off a little bit odd, we are actually going to be talking about what we think would be great comic book storylines to be adapted into movies. Now, I actually, when we first started with this, I actually went down a rabbit hole, and after I looked at my notes, I'm like, oh crap, I really did go down a rabbit hole. So this is going to be insane. That's the reason I even said to you, John, I hope you're ready for this. So here's the thing. I've been sitting here racking my brain on what kind of storylines they would do in both MCU and DC. DC, I would say I'm not as familiar with as MCU, and then or Marvel, I should say. But I did find some great storylines. So before I get down my rabbit hole that I was planning on going, I do want to go and ask you first, John, aka Campo. Do you have any that you want to particularly square off on right now? And maybe even at the same time, I might have them on my list as well. So,
easy. Dark Phoenix, but done right.
Oh my God, screw you! I knew you were gonna do that.
No, because can I just sidetrack myself for 30 seconds?
Go ahead. Yes.
That storyline can't and will never work. It has not worked already. It's not a movie that you can translate. It's not a story that can translate to film.
True.
And when the faster they realize that, the better.
Well, that's actually kind of the situation. The reason why I say rabbit hole is because that's actually kind of why I went down a rabbit hole, and it had nothing to do with Dark Phoenix. It had more to do with connections with characters like Scarlet Witch and Legion.
Is there anything to do with actual rabbits?
No, unfortunately not.
Then
there was no rabbits involved. Okay.
I absolutely don't care.
All right. Well, then let me ask you this: outside of Phoenix, now that unfortunately on my end, I am kind of looking a lot on how they can actually adapt X-Men, and maybe even kind of taking some characters out that are so prominent that we can actually kind of sidetrack away from them. So before we get into X-Men, because I feel like if I do drop into the X-Men rabbit hole, that's gonna be long. So before I do that, are there any? Let's say Marvel first of all. Are there any Marvel storylines outside of X-Men? I would say that you would say they really need to put into the movies.
I have a lot.
Okay. Well, let's name one, then I can go off of that.
I want the Rick Remender entire run of Hawkeye turned into a movie where he's just a normal guy. He's not part of the Avengers anymore. He's the landlord of an apartment building.
It's funny, too, because I actually have Hawkeye in these notes and everything. But wait, hold on. When was these issues put out that you're referring to?
Honestly, I don't remember, but I would say probably 2013 till 2015.
And that would be the reason why I had no idea. Okay, so explain exactly.
It's honestly the best Hawkeye story that's ever been told.
Okay.
He's kicked out of it's after he comes. Okay, so spoilers. He dies, and then he comes back to life, and then he gets kicked out of the Avengers. So he becomes it's not landlord, he's the head of an apartment building.
But I mean, okay, so how would that adapt to a solid movie when it comes
because the storyline is really strong. It's a personal story about him and trying to earn his name back, and he's taking care of the people in the neighborhood. He's protecting them from these Russian mafia guys that are always coming around and trying to extort everybody. But the main plot is, and then he's training Kate Bishop to be his protege, but then she ends up becoming Hawkeye for the Avengers, and he's mad about it because he doesn't like that she went and took his spot in the Avengers.
Really? See, I had no idea about that. I knew she ended up becoming basically took the mantle off of him and everything, but I didn't know that happened. So does that mean even the way it sounded, they've already implemented that if you really think about it, because he was already training her in the other movies. So I mean, I right there, I agree. Based on what you're saying, that would actually fit well, even though I've never really actually read those issues. So, but at the same time, like if you were to go outside yourself as far as storyline wise, do you see it being a storyline that would actually work? Like
Sorry, I'm
how
trying to plug it in. I
how
forgot to plug in my computer.
okay, but like how would you exactly say they would implement? I love how we're just getting it close up. It's real nice. But yeah, how would they implement it to where someone that is used to the comic world of Marvel, I mean, would it be that enjoyable without it becoming way too dramatic? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so because you can easily run it as like I would say rom com. You can easily make it like a dramedy. Like it can easily become.
Right.
I'm trying to think of a movie off the top of my head, like Meyerowitz stories or like any Wes Anderson movie where it's primarily a comedy,
Mm-hmm.
but it has like a drama in the background. But obviously there would be action in this. But it's more of like a human story, and this is the point of the Marvel universe where we are now. Like this, everyone suffered this loss. Everyone,
True.
um,
True.
after the loss, now there's nothing.
Right.
Like we're at a point where there aren't any supervillains because the world is recovering. We stopped the main threat, so now everyone's living these human lives trying to get back to normal. And I think this is the perfect time to do a story where it's not about really saving the world, but rather trying to like get back to normal life.
But I mean, yeah, that sounds good. Because here's the thing. Like I said, as I was going through stuff, you know, I would say only one point, and I'm trying to remember exactly where that point was when I was going through my list. Hawkeye didn't really have too much involvement. So seeing Hawkeye have some kind of involvement does definitely go in there because I've noticed one thing, and they're focusing on it big, and that's kind of where I focused my whole idea. If they're going to go this far, you know, maybe fix some things that are a little convoluted, but in return, like I said, when I was going down the rabbit hole, it ended up being more convoluted than ever, just like the X-Men universe already is. So it's a nice refreshing look on that when it comes to having something that's grounded to one character and not, you know, having so many characters in it, which maybe you're right. We kind of need that when it comes to the MCU movies. We need to go back to square one or start at one person and then build up from there. So I do kind of agree. So let me ask you this then: how would you build upon that? I mean, after that, would you?
I wouldn't. I would have that as a one and done.
Okay.
And I would just I would either go into the next major storyline
Mm-hmm.
where now we know Hawkeye better,
Okay.
or you go full Kate Bishop and then let her story expand and kill him off in her movie as like a dramatic uh reason for her to want to continue.
Which at the same time means that if he wants to leave, that gives him an open to leave and then bring
Yeah,
in.
right. Because I don't think he's like Black Widow, and I don't care how anybody feels about this, but Black Widow doesn't need more
Yeah.
than one movie.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
like a spy movie, but
Mm-hmm.
her story, her actual general like lifespan of story throughout Marvel since her first day that she got introduced is not a lot. Like there's not much
Yeah,
there.
I
She's a
agree. I agree.
secondary character. It's like Hawkeye. You don't need a that comic is amazing. It's honestly one of the best runs I've ever read in the history of comic books, and it's just because it doesn't try to. It's completely out of the box. It was like, here, you like superheroes? All right, this is not about superheroes. This is about your neighbor.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, but yeah,
Well,
I say go down your X-Men hole for a bit because I do have some X-Men things.
okay.
So why
Well,
not?
all right. So, well, here's the thing. Looking at it, okay. The one thing I was mostly implementing was this. I felt like the whole idea of Magneto and Xavier, that whole storyline is there, but I feel like we've gotten it so much that we kind of need a break from it. And so I kind of went down a rabbit hole of so many stories that when I looked at it, it was just like the real X-Men universe. It was convoluted, and I'm going to go through and tell you what I mean. So, if you're not aware, I mean, I'm sure you are. In the comic books, Secret Wars, they updated it, and they actually gave Deadpool a bigger part in the second Secret Wars they set up. Well, Secret Wars have been a big talk when it comes to setting up for the next universe. But I actually wanted to diverge off of that because wanting to set up the X-Men universe made me think of like of characters like Mr. Sinister and things of that nature that have not been introduced. and at the same time, how we have situations like, for example, Scarlet Witch and Legion, which Legion, it seemed like they were trying to connect into the X-Men universe in the show, but I felt like, okay, the Legion had a major part in even being a catalyst for things like Age of Apocalypse, because if it wasn't for Legion, then we wouldn't have had Age of Apocalypse, because Legion is the reason why Age of Apocalypse exists. And then when I started, that's when I started going down the rabbit hole of Scarlet. And again, if you guys don't understand what I'm saying, I guess I will have to explain. So in the series Age of Apocalypse, Xavier ends up getting, or Legion goes back to go kill Magneto, but goes too far back when Magneto and Xavier are actually friends, and ends up killing Xavier. So in return, everything changes, and Magneto ends up becoming the person that takes on the mantle of what Xavier does and becomes the good guy, and that becomes the Age of Apocalypse, because Apocalypse arises to power, and all humans are wiped off the earth. Now, the reason I wanted to bring this one up as an interest is because of the whole Scarlet Witch connection with the whole thing with Doctor Strange, how they're setting up the multiverse. When I went down this rabbit hole, I was like, this is convoluted. You'd have to do at least a couple episodes of the series of the Age of Apocalypse, or maybe one big movie, which I don't know if they can do it, and then basically wipe that universe by maybe her doing the other thing, which is the setup from the House of M, where she says no more mutants, and then you go in a different thing that goes back to the universe they already have. So, but at the same time, it would set up the multi-universe. It would also show who mutants were and why they are. Because if you think about it, if she were to say no more mutants, but in return only make sure her and her brother were alive, it would explain why Magneto's gone, why all that's gone. But at the same time, I hit a spike when it came to it because of that. And so when I started going down that rabbit hole, I said, okay, I need to reset and think, what is the one they want to focus on? And the only character they're trying to bring over is the one that me and you talked about that you may not be a big fan of, but I am, which is Deadpool. And that's where Mr. Sinister comes back into the story, because Mr. Sinister has had a lot of stories involving Cable. And the one I'm thinking of is maybe Fathers and Sons. That's the one where Sinister plays his strength, and it's talking as well, teaching Cable a lesson about his percentage and everything. So I felt maybe that would be the story, or the Inferno story with Phoenix that they did, where again, it's another convoluted thing that they had, but they also did Once Upon a Deadpool, where they talk about Nathan Summers and his relationship with Cyclops and Jean. And at that point, we would see another version of Jean when it comes to those stories, introducing Mr. Sinister. And in some ways, I feel like they can kind of get away from the Xavier thing, even in those stories. So now that I've kind of put you down that rabbit hole, what do you think?
It's not a bad idea, but it sounds like you're mashing together a bunch of comic books.
Well, no, what I'm saying is I'm saying like these would be stories that because you have to understand, X-Men is already kind of broken up as it is. You know what I mean? And I definitely need to do a reset. But it's like at this point, like, how do we introduce them? And how do we also maybe pique interest for the fans by pulling stories? Because right now, you have to think about things. When it comes to Secret Wars and all this stuff, and the Infinity Gauntlet, there's so many X-Men characters that had so much to do with those stories, and they're no longer, they were never involved in those. And that breaks the strange everything. And you know this as well. So, for example, like the Infinity Gauntlet, there was death involved in that, and death's involved with Deadpool. There's so many things there where they didn't have any of the X-Men characters, you know? And when you don't have that, it basically breaks a bunch of the lines. So it's like when you go to try to repair it, you have to figure out a way to add the characters they already have into the X-Men universe. You know what I mean? And so that's what I'm trying to do. And it's very hard to do, but that's the reason why I'm looking at storylines that might be. So, I mean, you yourself, do you have any I might not have brought up that would be good ways of bringing them in?
Well, I don't know. I think I have an idea of what I would want,
Mm-hmm.
and I also have an idea of what I think is going to happen.
Okay.
I want Avengers versus X-Men.
I do too, yes.
And I honestly think that that's plausible that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
That the X-Men are just going to show up however it happens, and they're not going to like the Avengers, and the Avengers are going to think that they're bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but that storyline aside, I think what's going to happen is something that happened in Avengers 1 regarding the Tesseract is going to cause a chain reaction that started mutants. And there's going to be mutants that already existed. They're going to do something that you're going to be like so baffled about. I promise. It's going to be
probably
like,
right, yeah.
It's going to be like, what? So mutants have only been around 10 years, and then they'll introduce you. They'll be like, oh, well, there was other mutants. They're going to like backtrack and be like, well, Xavier and Magneto have been around forever, but from experimentation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be like that. But then all the other people like Wolverine and stuff is going to be all like modern. Like there's going to be not Wolverine, because he would have been experimented on too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But like his mutant powers would be like his regenerative powers would be like from this. And it's going to be something like that. It's going to be something to do with Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange.
Yep.
Back to you quickly to your thing. I'm not denying it. I'm pretty sure there's no way they're not going to use the character, but I don't think the Deadpool that we know is ever coming back. I'm pretty sure Ryan Reynolds is never coming back as Deadpool.
Really?
He even said that when his talks with Disney, they don't want Deadpool. They're not interested in making Deadpool.
Oh, that makes me sad. I thought they were still going to do it, but at the same time with I'll say Corona right now, it's definitely broken a lot of things.
Maybe you'll get a Daredevil movie, a third Daredevil movie. Deadpool, sorry. Yeah. But as far as integrating him into the universe, they want no part of it.
See, I understood they would integrate. I'd like to have the I don't care if I have the side story. Maybe have Deadpool kills off the Marvel Universe and it doesn't exist.
I would take that. That was one I was going to bring up, but I would take that. To me, that's the only Deadpool storyline I like. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you have probably one or two Deadpool storylines, but I don't want anything from Rob Liefeld or Liefeld, whatever his name is, of the original run.
Well, the original one's kind of broken anyway with the New Mutants whole situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of that. And see, here's the other thing. I'm trying to, because the thing is I brought up I also had here, but then I'm trying to remember what it said something else that brought to mind something. I totally forgot what it is now. But there was the whole thing with Hulk 2, because remember there's World War Hulk 2, and we really haven't gotten a really existential Hulk story. But the problem is now we're at that point where we have the Smart Hulk or the Banner Hulk. So it's like, I don't know if we can go back to do World War Hulk if we went beyond that storyline.
I would take a Planet Hulk movie where it introduces him first getting to where Thor meets him in Thor Ragnarok. So it's like a prequel.
Yeah, I didn't want to stop you, but I agree with that. And I didn't know if that was going to be possible because of Thor Ragnarok. But now that you say there would be a prequel, I can understand it. But see, at the same time, you remember Xavier's involved in that too. So could they possibly like go back and say that maybe Hulk knew Xavier the whole time? That would be another. See, that would be weird. I don't think that would work.
This is my point that I was making with Marvel. If you've seen how they work over the years, yes, they take most of their stories come from the comic books. They're pretty good at adapting things, but they constantly retcon things without people knowing that they're doing it. Like the common fans don't even understand that they're going back and being like, oh shit, we screwed this up. We got to change this and add this person here. Now, all of a sudden, when they do a flashback of Hulk, he's with Professor X and you're like,
yeah, exactly.
You're like, what? But to everybody that's reading comic books, they're like, this is so stupid. Like those are the parts of Marvel movies that I don't like. Yeah. When they're always like trying to fix the problems that they created themselves.
Well, X-Men kind of had that problem a lot more than you can actually say in the MCU. And
X-Men, every movie was a different movie that somehow was connected in the same universe.
This is again going down another rabbit hole, but it's still to this day, I own Age of Apocalypse. I don't own Dark Phoenix. Or not Age of Apocalypse, sorry. I don't own Apocalypse, X-Men Apocalypse, but I don't own Dark Phoenix. But like in my head, when I went and saw Dark Phoenix, I went and saw it, but even in my head then, I was like, how are they going to explain the other movie? And they just wiped it out. Like her doing the Phoenix thing in the end of Apocalypse. And it was like it never even happened. All of a sudden,
this is my explanation for that to make the movies make sense to me.
Right.
That after Days of Future Past, the whole timeline got reset. So everything happened in a new order. So instead of her getting it in her late 30s when she got in the other movie, it happened to her now as a teenager. she got the
So
powers.
are you saying? Because remember, Apocalypse and Days of Future Past. Because Apocalypse happened after Age of Future.
Yeah, and but that's a whole new storyline too. You get Angel in a different way. You get Nightcrawler in a different way.
But then, so are you saying Dark Phoenix and Apocalypse have nothing to do with each other then?
No, I'm saying, okay, look, this is how the world goes. You get First Class.
Okay.
You have the X-Men Origins, Wolverine.
Yeah.
Then you have 1, 2, 3.
Right.
Then you have the Wolverine takes place after everyone's dead, and now he's like so sad.
Okay.
And then you have Days of Future Past, okay, which resets the original timeline, but then Logan takes place after Days of Future Past. So now that Days of Future Past fixed the timeline, Logan is the final movie.
Okay.
But and then so now you go back to the beginning. It erases the 3 movies that we have. It changed everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, you get Apocalypse and the other one.
But that's what I'm saying though. Remember, in Apocalypse, she actually uses the Phoenix at the end of that movie. Remember, because she did. But Apocalypse there, she was the one that killed Apocalypse.
Yeah. She doesn't. Nobody knew what that power was though. She didn't turn into Phoenix there. That's when she realized that she had the power inside her to do that. She didn't fully go crazy yet. It wasn't until the space mission when she unlocked, when it triggered in her that she was like.
I guess if you look at it that way, yeah.
Listen, it's not. I'm just trying to make sense of it because
that's
the most logical way.
Because already my brain is broken just thinking about it.
People would tell you, "Oh, watch the movies in this order." To me, Days of Future Past happens after all the movies, not after First Class.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So then, going back, that's trying to fix things. I was trying to remember exactly what we were talking about before, but I lost track. There was something you had said that I wanted to bring up, and I can't remember what it was at this moment. No, it was before Deadpool.
Avengers vs. X-Men.
Yeah, you said that, and I think there was something in between you had said, and I lost it. But anyway, because there was something of a storyline I was thinking of that I can't think of right now.
Hulk.
Yeah, no, it wasn't Hulk either. I lost it all together. For some reason, I lost it all together because we got sidetracked. But
well, I want a Hulk versus Wolverine movie.
Okay, of course. Now that's 100% one that I want to do. Now here's my situation with that though. Let's hear. When it comes to the Hulk, I want the original Hulk for that. I don't want the Hulk that we got now because I feel like it's not going to feel as comfortable, and that's where again the whole MCU thing is broken. Because unless they're going to go back and say it's a precursor, and then maybe, Wolverine's been in the woods this whole time and his memory's been broken, and then they bring in Xavier and do that whole situation. But it's like revamping the old story as well. It's not. So I don't. That's where. Okay, go ahead.
What if this? So the Multiverse of Madness, whatever the hell that movie's going to be called.
Right.
I'm saying that let's just say this. At the end of the movie, the final result is 2 of the universes collide together. One is the Earth that we know in MCU, and one is an Earth where there is no Avengers, but there's X-Men. So you can make that the Hulk verse thing could be that in that universe there's a Hulk, but there's no Avengers, and in that universe Wolverine fights Hulk.
Okay, that makes sense, and that means we can actually have that solo story of Hulk versus Wolverine.
Yeah, and then who knows? Then the worlds collide, and boom, there's a new Hulk in this world, and it's Red Hulk. I don't know.
Yeah, that's just going to another place because then you might want Red She-Hulk, which then we're not even bringing Jennifer Walters.
You don't even have She-Hulk yet. We're talking about Red
She-Hulk. I know,
She-Hulk?
yeah, exactly. I was like, that's not even Jennifer Walters. We're going to be talking about another She-Hulk altogether. Well, that's like would the Wendigo be involved at all in that situation? Or
I guess you could do it. Why not? You could put Thor there somehow.
Okay,
maybe Thor's exist in all universes because he's technically a god.
Yeah, and that's what I was wondering too, in replace of other characters. But I feel like when it comes to the Marvel, we kind of stuck to the Marvel setup. So before we go into DC, were there any other Marvel that you wanted to
Yeah, of course. Hold on, let's go through this.
All right.
I want a New Mutants movie.
Better than
but like the actual New Mutants movie. Yeah. I mean, like from the actual first run, that mini series that was 6 issues with Cable and all those guys. I want that movie as a solo movie. I don't care if there's sequels. I don't care if it ties in. Just make the movie and you can put it tied into something later.
Okay.
I want an X-Force movie of the entire Rick Remender run, when it's Deadpool, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Psylocke.
We're never gonna get it, but freak
That I want that. That would be great. Because that movie could be that series could make 3 movies. That was
I
like
agree.
8 volumes
The
of.
problem is like how to implement it. It's just a matter. That's a dreaming one in my eyes. There's so much you have to do to fix it.
But the MCU is gonna bring in X-Men when they do, or mutants. Let's just say mutants. When they bring them in, and they're going to leave everything open. They're going to not tie, I promise you, they're not going to tie any circles on anything. So that way they can go any direction they want. Because the problem that they had in the original MCU was that they tied a knot so that everything was going to be the way it was, and then realized later we can't do this because how do we add people in? And that's why we got all the retcons, right?
Yeah.
Which is like, where DC screwed up because they immediately didn't build up anybody's story. They just were like, this is where it is. And everyone's like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
I would like that. I would like low tier stuff. Like Superior Foes of Spider-Man. I always talk about that, but give me a movie about a bunch of like C-level villains plotting together to do something, like to rob a bank, and then in the end Spider-Man just comes in and like flicks them and they all lose. And it's like they spent that whole movie like trying to like, give me something weird.
I would rather I really want a Kraven the Hunter. I want the origin of Kraven the Hunter.
Well, we're supposedly getting that, so.
But hopefully properly, by the comic book, you know what I mean? Because I don't know if it's going to be the same thing, basically, because of the characters they've already introduced. You know what I mean? So, anyway, go ahead.
I'm trying to think now. I would take a Secret Wars, but I mean, we kind of. The problem with Secret Wars is. Or wait, is that Secret Wars or the other one?
Wait,
which one's Invasion? What's it called? Secret Invasion. Okay, well, Secret Invasion was already ruined by Captain Marvel. Oh, I want the Captain Marvel run. I can't think of the author right now. Shit. It was during the Marvel Now time, so around the same time as the Hawkeye one, where she's going around, and it's very similar to Guardians, where she's like going planet to planet, and she builds her own team, and they become like. It's very comedy based.
Oh, is it really? Yes.
It's a pretty solid run of comics. I wish I could remember off the top of my head who wrote it. That's good. I don't know. I don't really have. I'm not a huge Marvel guy.
See, that's why I figured. Okay, so then let's go in because I did. Now here's the thing. This is going to be your territory. I was going to let you take more of it, but I don't know how much time we've got left. So let's get into DC. I know they're going into Flash with Flashpoint. That was one thing. But some of the ones I brought up, so I'll bring up the ones I thought of. With like Crisis on Infinite Earth was one of them I thought of. The New 52 and 0 Hour with the Crisis in Time. Doomsday Clock is probably my most interesting one I want to do. And then the Sinestro Corps War, and then Kingdom Come. Which Kingdom Come, I don't know if it can be done, but based on them doing the stories of using the old Batman, I was like, maybe they could do something like Kingdom Come in that way. I don't know. So. That's what I'll throw out there, like how you sped off with the Marvel. That's kind of why I threw out there with the DC. But DC, I know is not my forte as much as Marvel is. So, like, what do you think? Or do you want to jump on those ideas, or do you have?
Well, yeah. Well, I do forte in Marvel. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
I prefer their lesser known stuff. Anyways,
okay. All right.
In DC, a lot of those stories you said it's not that they're bad. They're very world ending. They're all every single one of those stories is like a Infinity Gauntlet story.
Yeah, exactly.
And the problem with DC when they do those is they're usually bigger. They're bigger than they know what to do with, and I don't want that. I want Batman. I want Court of the Owls.
Okay. Yes. Yep. Which we're kind of already getting, but
we're getting year 2 basically. We're getting Batman year 2, which we found out is a comic last time.
Yeah.
I want that. I want Batgirl year 1. I would love to see the starting of the early startings of Nightwing.
That's the other thing I want to ask you. Since we already know they're going to be doing Flashpoint. We want these stories. Do you think they could still implement these stories if they do the Flashpoint thing?
Yeah, because I don't feel like this is a true Flashpoint. From what they are explaining now, the most recent explanation of it is it doesn't seem like it's resetting the timelines at all,
Okay.
and it's not the full Flashpoint. So it's not going to be in the universe with Thomas Wayne and with Aquaman fighting Wonder Woman, which is I'm like I don't even understand why they're making this anymore. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
basically just he's going to go back in time because of something that happens. He's going to meet the Batman 89 universe. He's going to meet another Batman, and then he's going to come back, and that's going to be the end of it.
so Titans isn't even involved, like the Titans television
No,
series.
I don't think anything's going to happen.
Okay.
I would take a Titans movie. If you at first if you establish Nightwing, you have to
Hmm.
because he's the main guy.
Yeah.
Um, I would take that with. I don't know. It doesn't really matter what story. Titans doesn't have that many super strong stories.
Yeah. True. You're right.
And the show's pretty good right now. But I would like Court of the Owls from Batman for sure. I would like a Long Halloween, the actual. I know they use elements of that in the Christopher Nolan movies, but I would like an entire movie just the Long Halloween.
Okay, gotcha,
I would like
gotcha.
Hush.
You see,
I
name of some of the big ones I've actually heard, or some of them I've actually read, and that's
I
the
would
thing.
like Killing Joke.
Now that's when you actually picked up one that I wanted to bring up too, but I was waiting for you to bring it up. Now, reason I feel like Killing Joke is one they should adapt no matter what is because they've been doing really good when it comes to R-rated uh, movies. When it comes to like the Watchmen series, or even just the Joker, if the Joker movie and everything, and everything else. It's like, okay, if you're doing so well with that, why not go with the one that everyone loves? You made an animated version of it, but why not go for the live action? You know what I mean? And
Yep.
so I agree. I really think Killing Joke would be an amazing movie, and would
And you could do a Nightwing movie, establish Batgirl in that movie as a secondary character. Then you can have a Batgirl movie. Then you can have a Titans movie where they're both in it, and then you can have Killing Joke where she gets crippled
yep,
and
yep.
becomes and her storyline makes
Oracle.
sense. But knowing DC, they're just going to immediately introduce Batgirl in Killing Joke and then cripple her, and then it's like, oh, we didn't even get a Batgirl movie. Thank you.
Yeah, but well, the thing is, though, I feel like that's the problem. Though I do feel like there should be a background movie because I feel like we need to fall for the character because that would make the Killing Joke that much more
Yeah.
severe to see her crippled because she loved that because the one thing I didn't like about the animated movie was, and if I remember right, in the comic book there really wasn't no love interest between her and Batman. The comic book, was there? I don't think there was.
No,
No, and
that whole thing was added in to extend the movie.
yeah, and see, I didn't like that. So
It
like,
didn't make sense.
yeah,
To me,
exactly.
if that was me, I would have done that, but I would have made it Nightwing because that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, good point. Yep, exactly. So that's the reason why I want to fall for the character, so that way when she does become crippled, and then we're going through the whole thing with Commissioner Gordon, we actually see we already feel bad for her, but then at that point we see him, and then see her again, and now it's such a crippling effect that we want Batman to beat the crap out of the
Yeah.
Joker. You know what I mean? Like
Give
we
me
feel for it.
give me new 52 version teenage Batgirl so that she can grow up and then I can
Hmm.
care about what's happening in her life. Give me friggin' uh give me Alan Moore Swamp Thing original run.
Right.
Give me Jeff Lemire Animal Man run. Give me bring in some weird people so that you can establish a dark universe for them. Do the Dead Man run. Do Zatanna, which apparently we're getting a TV show. Constantine, so that way you can even do
Hmm.
them through the TV shows, right? But give me that universe so that it makes sense, and then you can easily tie Batman into that universe. If you have to tie one character in, you could tie Batman in because he's dark. Um, Give me All-Star Superman. I hate Superman, but give me the All-Star Superman thing where he loses his powers and
Right.
all of that. Give me. I'm trying to think of some good ones. Shit, I'm blanking right
For
now.
some
But
reason,
yeah,
when you said Superman, I thought of the worst Superman ever. It was the one where he split, and when right after Doomsday. And remember when he split into two entities?
oh
Oh
yeah.
God,
Well,
yeah.
I don't want Reign of the Superman. That was the animated Death of Superman is really good. The second part of it, Reign of the Superman, is like I didn't know what the hell happened.
Oh, I haven't seen the animated movie of either one of those. I actually read Doomsday, and I read but the thing is I got forced to kind of read that because of other stories, and I didn't like it. And that's when I hate to say it, but like that's the one thing I think I fell apart with DC for me was it felt like they always like even though Marvel was messing up on their end when it came to convoluted stories like X-Men, that DC because they're such overpowered characters, they had to go to extremities to kill them off or to bring in other things. So it's like they have to most of the time it feels like they have to fight themselves
Yeah.
in order to feel like there's any kind of power that can actually fight themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that but
Go.
no, I was just gonna say, but that's the reason why things like Kingdom Come, I know it's hard to make something like that, but at the same time, it's like it would feel like to give us that look of like what they did with Watch Me, maybe with Kingdom Come, the original Watch movie, that kind of feel the way it looks, you know what I mean, and give us that kind of same sense with Kingdom Come, but at the same time, it's like, could you do that? I guess you could, but you would have to really give it an old feel to it to really.
I would more go for my next world-ending threat. Do your Green Lantern Corps movie.
Okay.
Turn it into Sinestro Corps. So now you got Yellow Lanterns. Then do a Red Lantern movie, and then do on a Blackest Night or Darkest Night, whatever it's called. And now where all the corps are fighting each other, and then you can have like a world-ending event. And it will have so many characters, and then you can involve the Justice League in that because they have to come through, and then Batman will get the rings and become evil. And I don't know. There's a lot of things you could do. Just quickly, I want to go back. Okay, let me go back.
Go ahead. You're good. Go ahead.
Because I forgot. Like when we were talking about Superman, I was like, what other characters do I read comics about that I don't like? And I was like, oh, Spider-Man. Give me Death of Spider-Man, either version of it, okay, and then lead it either into Miles Morales or Superior Spider-Man when Doc Ock becomes Spider-Man, because that's literally the best Spider-Man thing I ever read was Superior Spider-Man.
I mean, it was okay. I didn't get to read every single issue of it. It wasn't one of those expansive ones because it was when I heard about those, I didn't get to actually get too much into it. So I don't know. I can't really indulge myself in that. It's funny you went into that because for some reason when you decided to go back to Marvel, the thing that I want, and this is something I never will get, right? So I'm just gonna throw this out there for people that don't understand. I want and I always mispronounced this when I was younger. I could spell it, but I can't say it. The amalgamum universe, the Marvel and DC combined universe, right? No, it sounds ridiculous. It was the most horrible thing ever. But when I saw, when I saw Dark Claw, I peed myself a little, right? And it was just cool to see Batman and Wolverine combined together. And of course, they did it with Superboy, Spider-Man, things of that nature.
Yeah, there was a lot of good ones. Super Soldier, Superman, and Captain America. There was a lot of good crossovers in that.
And see, if they would do one-offs for that, I think it'd be amazing. And not ever going to happen in my eyes because now that DC is owned by Warner Brothers, well,
do that as an animated event. Make it like a 20 episode series. Each episode's 40 minutes long, like those hour-long shows where the DC and that crossover, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree.
Because animated, you can do anything you want. And you can make it work. It could still be dark. It could still be bloody. It could still be rated R. And you could do it perfectly. That's HBO Max right there. You do a crossover between HBO Max and Hulu, and you release it on both platforms.
Yeah, exactly. Or even if because at the same time, if they decide not to even go dark and just do Marvel versus DC and have the whole, relationship through all those, then you can actually have the Marvel issues over on Disney Plus and the DC issues.
Well, I would just let it go on both. I would sign a contract exactly. These movies could release on both because you never know. It might bring people to sign up for your thing.
Exactly.
It might not make HBO Max people leave to go to Disney, and it might not make Disney people leave to go to HBO Max, but it might make people who don't have either sign up for one of them to watch it.
It's a dream, but
I'll just watch it online for free, but.
But yeah, it's a dream, but I want it and everything. Okay,
I'll take that. Why not? That was awesome. I literally remember when that first happened, going to the stores in Florida because it first came out when I was in Florida and buying the first 5 issues. I think they released the first 3 at once or something like that.
Yeah, they did. And I remember because they did the Marvel vs. DC prior to that. It was right before they brought those out because the Marvel vs. DC was very successful. But the thing was like even for myself, some of my favorite characters in the in the Marvel universe are like of course Deadpool, but also like Nightcrawler and Jubilee. And I'll be honest with you, Jubilee dating Robin pissed me the f off. You know what I mean? She deserves better than that.
She deserves Putty.
Yeah, right. She deserves better than Robin in my eyes.
She
So
deserves. Can we just talk about her for a second? She
yes,
deserves
please.
better in general.
Oh, the way
Like she is
her.
the heart of creating the entire X-Men 92 animated series universe.
Mm-hmm.
She's literally the catalyst of the whole universe from episode 1.
And see,
like,
and see, the thing is
she's iconic.
Yeah, and see, the thing is I read a few X-Men comics here and there. I was reading more Ninja Turtles comics. So when the X-Men anime series came out, that made me go, ooh, I want to read more. And it's because I actually fell in love with her character. So when she moved on to Generation X, I was like, I want a Generation X movie. Well, we got one on TV, but
oh, so bad. Don't talk about it.
Anyway, so my point to the whole thing is I want Jubilee to be done properly. I don't see it ever happening.
In X-Men Apocalypse, they nailed her visually. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. This is going to be so good. And then they're like, she has one line. Let's go to the ball. Like they could have at least played the song by Robin from the show How I Met Your Mother, Let's Go to the Mall, and I would have had a better time.
Well, like I said, for example, she had the scene that in the first X-Men movie. And then they cut out her scene in the next and in the second X-Men movie, and I'm like, it's fine then. You know what? My girl's not going to get no attention. And then at the same time, the role she had was actually where Rogue was in the first X-Men movie, if you really think about it. So when I saw that first X-Men movie, I'm like, why is Rogue in Jubilee's place? This doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? And it really broke my heart. But I was like, you know what? I got an X-Men movie. I'm happy. I'm not going to complain, you know?
I'm just throwing everything off this table right now. I don't know if you can hear this. I knocked like 5 things off the table in the last 2 seconds trying to pay attention.
Oh, that's great. This is what Jubilee does to both of us. I'm just going to say that.
It's such an important character in X-Men that it's not, I mean, kind of maybe she doesn't really serve a purpose to the group except to tie them together, which I guess is important, like power wise, but like there's so much of a reason for her to be there. Like I don't understand why they haven't, in 11 movies or whatever, they weren't able to figure out a way that she mattered in the universe.
And see, I always felt like, you know, when it came to like you know, Titans, how they had their thing, I always felt like Generation X was definitely the Marvel's universe of Titans. And like she was the glue that held that together to become to where we have characters like Chamber. Chamber was one of my favorite characters, and I feel like we're never going to get a proper Chamber ever in the movie. And when you don't have things like that, what was the other one that was her name Husk? The Husk on there. There was was it Mondo? His name was. I can't remember his name right now.
I don't remember any of their names. I'm pretty sure Mondo was a person.
Yeah, he was the guy that was like had the flexible body and everything, like the really rubbery body. Anyway, my point to the whole thing is I don't feel like we're ever gonna get the proper Generation X that I've always dreamed of, because I read every single Generation X comic book, but it's just been a while because they kind of shut that down. And so I lost that because Jubilee has been kind of lost in the cut, and I felt like she was a great, powerful character. Like she was my girl growing up. I had the figures, I had all that stuff. So to see her kind of get lost in the shuffle, but was a big part of X-Men, it kind of makes me sad. But I feel like the thing now is we've been doing this podcast for a bit, so I want to go ahead and state this. We jumped from Marvel and DC, and before we continue on, I did want to also state that there's a lot of other comics that have never even been adapted to movies that I want to see. For example, Spawn, I feel like needs a better one. I want to see.
Well, apparently they're making it, so.
Yep. And then I want to see a live action Gen 13 movie. I don't know if it's ever going to happen, especially with the whole situation with Jim Lee leaving and all that stuff. I don't know if that would ever happen. But I'd love to see a Gen 13, maybe a Savage Dragon movie. You know, things of that nature.
That.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
But that's the thing. I don't know if that's
Image can establish a universe,
right? Well, I mean, well, see, then there's also like the other ones. Like I would also like a Witchblade. Like we got a TV show. Let's get a movie. You know what I mean? Adult version of the movie. You know,
like there's a few characters actually that would be cool. What's the other one? wasn't it Rob Liefeld when he went to Image? He went to Image, right? Yeah. What
No,
was
no,
it called?
no,
Thundercats?
no. I think they did make one, but I never read it.
Oh my god, what the heck was his comic called?
Oh,
Wildcats. Wildcats.
Wildcats. Okay, Wildcats. Yes, I know what you're talking about. Wildcats was good and everything. Because they even made a cartoon, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they made a Wildcats cartoon and everything, if I remember right. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, yeah, definitely. That Wildcats is really cool. Wildcats is very visually appealing too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They did that. I mean, the one character I remember from that is Zealot. I think her name was Zealot, the girl in the red. That was like really a samurai-looking character. And guys, if you're not aware, these are comics that for people that don't know, Image Comics actually had a lot of people that came from Marvel that weren't happy with what Marvel was doing
And DC.
and DC and decided to go over and make their own thing. And this is like Jim Lee.
It was the best. It was all of the best artists in the game at that point.
Exactly.
They were mistreated at the major studios, so they all quit and formed their own thing. And Todd McFarlane was the head guy.
And believe me, when you went over to Image Comics, you saw way more adult behavior when it came to comics.
Oh yeah, because they were able to do what they wanted.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And you know who else I would like to get? I would like to get. I know we got Bloodshot recently. I would like to get Exo Manowar or a Conan the Barbarian movie from that universe too.
Oh wow, Exo Manowar! I totally forgot about that comic book. Oh my gosh. See, that's what's great about pulling from the deep end. A lot of these comics that we're referring to are comics that unfortunately kind of just fell off, but were such great things that were side notes from Marvel and DC. Marvel and DC controlled everything, but just like the other computer companies out there, they're like, no, we're still here. We may not be as good, but guess what? We have some power here that you can use.
There's so many really good runs. There's a lot of really good Green Hornet runs from Dynamite Comics. I'm not sure why they never bothered to really try and make a movie of it. But then they have a lot of good characters, too. I'm pretty sure they have Spider and the Shadow and those pulp-type characters.
Aren't they the ones that also have the Phantom as well?
I think they do, but the Phantom has had runs in DC and Marvel, which is weird.
Yeah, I know.
But I would like to get... There was a run of Ghostbusters that was really good, more recent, and I would like to see not a real life movie, like explore these in animated, because then you're not tarnishing the property, but you're still giving the fans what they want. There's a crossover between Ghostbusters and Ninja Turtles that's awesome.
Oh yeah,
and you could do the whole run of that series, because at the end of that run, it leads into that Ghostbusters meets Ninja Turtles, and you could make 3 animated movies out of that.
Well, they already did the Batman and Ninja Turtles, and you actually picked up. Okay.
There's going to be 2 more Batman vs. Ninja Turtle movies.
I can't wait.
And there's Batman the Animated Series meets Tmnt from the 80s.
No way, really?
Yeah, there's a whole comic book run of it, and they should make a movie of that.
Well, see,
there's also... Sorry, I know, but there's also a really good movie we were talking about. I talked about with Caps in one of the episodes we did. It's called Turtles Forever, where the 2000s TMNT meet the 1980s Ninja Turtles, and it's you never seen it? It's a wicked movie. Go watch it.
Oh really my god! Okay, because see, here's the thing. I wanted to go back to, and this is one thing. I love the first movie because what the first movie did is it did mix in the Mirage version of Ninja Turtles in with the animated series. But what they started doing is they still kind of tried to mix the Mirage comic books into the movies, but they were going way off track once they got the second part 2 and part 3. And I'm like, could we just get a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie run, even if it's a trilogy or just one movie, that's directly from Mirage? Kevin Eastman and Peter Lard's version of Ninja Turtles before they became the cartoon. Because there were so many great established characters and stories where we actually have, like, we had a brunette April O'Neil, but it was freaking Megan Fox. It wasn't what I wanted. You know what I mean?
You know what? Okay, look, she wasn't even that bad, but her visually takes me out of the movie because she doesn't remind me of April O'Neil. And she's kind of like too good looking. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but it's
but she had like curly hair in the comic book. She was
and she's more of like a normal person. She's not like a supermodel.
Yep.
And this is my thing. I agree with you. Give me a first movie where they become the Turtles, but they all have red masks.
Yes.
Okay, like that. Give it to me like that. Give it dark. And just introduce Shredder in that movie. Don't make him the main person of it, okay? And then in the second movie, let them make their own personalities now, so they decide to wear different colored masks.
Yep.
So now you have the best of both worlds. And then you can introduce Casey Jones in the second movie and then fight Shredder in the second movie. Then in the third movie, you can introduce Krang, who maybe brings Shredder back to life and makes him Super Shredder or something.
But see, personally, I do still want the whole idea of the first issue where they literally kill Shredder. I know he comes
So
back.
let them kill him in the second movie.
Okay, I'm happy with that. All right, go ahead.
Do you know what I mean? But and then
I
and
want
at
that.
the
I
end
want
of
that
that movie,
visceralness.
when they kill him at the end of the second movie, let's just say, now it introduces Dimension X, and then Krang
Yep.
comes through Dimension X, and then makes Baxter Stockman so that
Yep.
it's his lackey.
And then we finally got the Mousers, and everything just
Yeah, and
comes
then
together. You know what I mean?
now you establish the whole universe. Oh my god, it's so hard.
Yeah, right.
Make movies, make other movies.
Yeah,
Instead of just making Batman versus Superman. It's over now. Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
There's Wonder Woman. She's the best part of Batman versus Superman.
I mean, I sometimes I don't understand how they just don't listen to things like our podcast or other people's podcasts and go, "That's a great idea. That might actually get your attention."
You know my feelings towards Zack Snyder and all this shit, and I talk about it in every episode of every one of these movies that or podcasts that we do. Henry Cavill was on a podcast, and he said himself, he's like, "It's great that now Zack can look back in hindsight to see what people said and correct the errors of the universe." And it's like, I've been saying that's what he's doing the whole time. He did not have this movie ready.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he's asking for more money to do the movie. It definitely wasn't ready. Anyways,
no, but
learn from your mistakes, Michael Bay.
But unfortunately, I think we're gonna have to end it there. It's been a long podcast. I love this. If you guys like this as well, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Most of all, comment below. Say we want more. Do you guys know more storylines? Because I know you, John, that could go into more detail, and I'm already got stuff in my head, and I'm like, crap, this podcast is going long. You know what I mean?
Well, we could go into way more detail on DC. I figured we were close to the end of the time already, so I kind of just skimmed through it. But
yeah, well, we kind of went on a tangent and then onto Image and Dark Horse.
I mean, it works.
Store. It went everywhere.
A little bit of Boom Studios we had there.
Exactly. So it's it went in a different direction, but I like that it did. This is what I wanted this to be about, but unfortunately, we're going to have to end it here. So if you guys want to see more, you have to hit that like. Make sure you're commenting below. Give us more. Heck, I'm willing to do another one. This is enjoyable and everything. But I'm gonna go and leave it here. Make sure you check out John on Instagram. And do you want to plug anything else, John?
RLG and RLG2.
Oh yeah, Vex. His podcast will be on RLG2. I'll leave a link in the description. You guys know who RLG is, but I'll go and leave a link in there anyway in case you're new here and don't know as well. And then I'll link his Instagram as well on the bottom. And I want to thank you for being here on the podcast. I want to thank you for let me ramble. You're other way. Turn around. There we go. Okay, there we go. All right. And I want to thank you guys for watching. And as always, I am Putty Man with Gamer Podheads. And do not forget, we're all about the high score. I appreciate you guys being here. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.